Hey, everybody. It is your girl, Miss Motivational Mogul Mindset, Ava Cherie, the Inspire. I hope you're well. So this Wake Up Wednesday is piggybacking off of the series of exposing and taking off the masks, breaking vices. So as we look at the different things we've done up to this point from vlogs 1 through 3, they really were talking about masks off and exposing the toxic behaviors, the maladaptive behaviors that we engage in with others, and giving ourselves excuses and trying to figure out why we were lusting for these people or lusting for these situations in our lives. And this involves being obsessed with others or others being obsessed with you, love spells, curses, things that people were asking me about, as well as strongholds. And that's ultimately what it breaks down to. I mentioned in my previous vlogs that I speak from a place of a spiritual realm as far as speaking to you guys as if you're believers. So anyway, today we're going to talk about trauma, addiction, and self-destruction. Wow, that's a huge thing. I know this will be broke down in segments. So you say to yourself, why would someone be addicted to trauma? And the reason they're addicted to trauma because it's sometimes a way of coping, and ultimately it leads to self-destruction. So how does someone get to this point? When you're dealing with things that has masks or underlying issues, or you're dealing with spell work and you're calling on dark energy to manipulate an outcome for yourself or for a situation, and then it turns on you and becomes negative, abusive, toxic, obsessive, it triggers some type of trauma, especially as you're trying to come out of it, because then masks come off, right? Gloves off. You see everything. Everything starts flying around the environment. The person starts talking all crazy, a way that you've never envisioned them speaking to you. But now you see that previously there were red flags that you probably chose to ignore, and you're trying to make this thing work because you called upon it. You called upon an energy to help you manipulate and orchestrate this thing in your favor. But now, as it turns out, when you go behind doors 1, 2, and 3 of this person's personality, and the person that you thought you wanted so bad, or the situation you thought you wanted to go in your favor so bad, so selfishly, then you find out it wasn't what you thought it was going to be, and now you want to shake it loose. And that's when you have encountered strong men, which means that there are spirits attached to the energy you called on, spirits that are attached to that you may not been ready to deal with, that you may have been lacking in your spirit man to even discern or recognize that it was present. And at that point you go into trauma mode. Some people go into the trauma mode, flight and flee, to try to get away from a situation, address a situation, don't keep it real with themselves, don't take accountability, nor do they examine the takeaway that was supposed to enlighten you and show you how to know better, how to choose better, and how to do better. So at this point, chemically, our bodies are made up of endorphins. And once trauma is triggered, it can send off all kinds of mixed signals in our body, and your body starts to react to this trauma. The sound of that voice are things that trigger your memory, and it directly impacts your body. And so from there, you try to override this flight and flee, fear, anxiety with some type of addictive behavior to reward your body, to soothe your body, to numb the reality of the situation that you've gotten yourself in. And instead of dealing with it, you become self-destructive, because typically you're probably going back into a toxic relationship or situationship or anything that's toxic that didn't serve you any good purpose, right? So now your inability to cope, you're soothing and something that doesn't even fit you anymore, something that you had your hand in. So you're dealing with guilt, shame, regret. And now the addictive nature is to numb this pain, numb this trauma, ignore the red flags, ignore what actually happened, distort your reality, right? And your body is going through all kinds of trauma responses as well, trying to cope to this response. And it's like, hold up, I thought that wasn't what we were entertaining. But you don't even realize your body is triggered just from going to that environment. And so Now your body is sending itself mixed signals. It's telling us, okay, we went after this. We thought we wanted it. Oh, but your brain said you didn't want it, because now the response you got from what you thought you wanted is becoming negative. It's becoming abusive. It's becoming toxic even more. It's becoming obsessive and controlling. I'm being stalked, whatever, right? It doesn't feel good. And so now you're wallowing in your pity, and you're numbing it with the memories. You're numbing it with the wavering and doubting whether you should have did what you did, or you should have entertained what you entertained. You should have let that person back in your environment or not. You're questioning yourself. Now your body is twisting. That is a spirit. It is twisting you in your thoughts. It is scrambling your thoughts. It is making you think you're tripping. You didn't make the right decision for yourself. And you're also ignoring the signals your body is giving you, like, hey, this isn't good for us. Now you got me all confused. Your body's getting sick. You're always on high. You're always on 10, anxiety ridden, no sleep. You're emotionally eating. You're doing all these things. You're paranoid. So when you're triggered, your body goes into an autopilot. It goes into a response to that trigger and that trauma to protect you, as if you're on a battlefield or in an abusive environment. When you disrupt the normal trauma response that our body gives us, the intuition to say, hold up, stand down, be alert, caution, do not enter. When you start to rewire yourself because you're addicted to this thing, when you start to rewire your brain to think it's okay to go into trauma, but not have a trauma response, you become ill. You become a part of it. The strong men have now held you captive in bondage in this situation that you don't feel like you can get out of, which is why you're sitting at home vexing about the person that you need to get rid of, but you can't. Vexing about the decision you've made about a thing that have mishandled and mistreated you, because you're tripping, because those strong men have now got into your mind and in your thoughts, which is why the last log I said, get rid of every memory that is romanticizing your mind, your memories, having you to feel like you can't do without it. That is the addiction to trauma, because you have rewired your brain to think it's okay to go back into this environment that your body is literally trying to trigger you to say, do not enter. All right. I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to state a quote that I seen. Your wound is probably not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. Okay, guys. God's love, God's healing, God's strength, God's power to you all.